Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Simon's here again with our weekly webinar, your weekly trading plan. Before anything else, of course, I want to greet everybody and tell everyone happy holidays, whatever holiday you're celebrating. It looks like we have a lot of holidays together. We have Easter, we have Passover, we have Ramadan. So if you celebrate any of those holidays, happy holidays to everyone. It's a nice holiday season. So let's move on. For those that don't know me, there's a few words about me. I'm working as a senior account manager at AvaTrade currently, and my past experience, it's almost June, it's going to be 22 years since I started trading back in New York. I've been trading for about 11 years as a proprietary trader professionally, and after that, I spent some time mentoring and educating other traders, and currently, as I said, I'm one of the account managers, senior account manager at AvaTrade. Now, what's the agenda of today? And in general, if you first coming to our webinar, the idea of it is very simple. The title says it all. It's really preparing ourselves, making a plan for the upcoming week. And usually we do it by talking a little bit fundamentally and then going through certain instruments that includes indices, stocks, commodities, and Forex. And that's what we're going to be doing today. And this is just some information for you how to really keep in touch with us, how to access a lot of information that we're posting currently or constantly. We have the Telegram channel, we have Twitter, and of course the YouTube is all the time. We're adding more and more information there, webinars, educational material, and so on. And before we move on, as usual, I'm going to read quickly this risk warning, just for us to understand that anything that we're going through here, it's in no way any suggestion for you what to do. So let's read it. Any capital markets and trading information disclosed in this webinar is provided for informative purposes only and should not be construed or applied as investment advice, recommendation, or suggestion. CFDs are complex instruments and come with a high risk of losing money rapidly due to leverage. 72% of retail investor accounts lose money when trading CFDs with this provider. You should consider whether you understand how CFDs work and whether you can afford to take the high risk of losing your money. And if you'd like to look into it, of course, that's a full risk disclosure statement at avatrade.com on the website. So let's move on. Just to kind of go over the week just ended. It was a short week. We had a Good Friday. Most of the markets were closed, and we had some reports. Pretty much, we opened also earnings season, so the companies started to report the earnings for the first quarter, and there was some mixed numbers, a lot of negative things, and the market really had some downside pressure. Also, some investors and analysts. I think that includes also CEO of JP Morgan, if I'm not mistaken. They're saying that the market is really facing a lot of downside pressure. Also, if you browse through different financial sites, you will see things popping up like this year could be a good idea, sell in May and go away. And if you've been in trading for a while, you probably heard this phrase once or twice. It pretty much investors or traders with a lot of experience, they know this phrase, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it looks like this year some of them suggest that it might work. So sell in May and go away. What does it mean? That a lot of traders are choosing to short the market in May and then cover it at the end of the summer and so on. And there are different ideas about it. Just a saying, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, like everything else. Okay, so before we go to the calendar, also unfortunately the war continues. There are talks, there are actions, there are threats, and unfortunately there are people dying still. And I really hope, I'm sure you're with me on this, that this terrible thing will end as soon as possible, so people don't need to suffer and die, and kids and everything else. Economic calendar. So just a reminder, I just take the high impact events here, and that's for the week. By the way, Monday it's also a little bit tricky. I think you should double check for yourself which markets you trade. Make sure. I think U.S. markets are trading regularly. Some European or all the European markets, if not maybe some open, but mostly are going to be closed. And you just check. You can Google it, see the market hours. I'm not going to go into it specifically that because that would take a lot of time. So as far as the announcements, Monday we have Chinese GDP numbers coming out and retail sales, which is very important. Investors are really watching what's happening in China. As you know, there was or still is a lockdown, a lot of issues for suppliers, and a lot of factories, a lot of plants are closed, including Tesla, I believe, still is. So something to pay attention to what's going on in China. And now we have the GDP numbers coming out. That's on Monday. Tuesday, we have the minutes from the Bank of Australia, which of course we'll be watching Australian dollar for that. We have chairman of looks like Swiss National Bank, speaking on Tuesday. Wednesday, we have interest rate decision from China. Inflation numbers from Canada, which is also very important. We have inflation numbers from New Zealand, also important. And Thursday, according to this report here, it looks like Powell, the chair of Fed, speaking twice. And that's interesting. And also, we have a governor of Bank of England speaking. So this is the banker's speech day on Thursday. And Friday, we have manufacturing numbers from Germany. We have PMI numbers from European Union. We have service PMI from UK, retail sales from Canada, and the governor of Bank of England speaking again. So 2 days in a row. Okay, so these are the things. And again, I just want to remind everyone the importance of knowing things. As I always say, even if you know what it is ahead of time, you wouldn't know how the market will react. But just the idea that these things are happening, if you are trading seriously, you want to prepare yourself so you wouldn't be caught by surprise. It's good to know when certain things are happening that are relating to the markets that you trade. Okay, so that's it pretty much. Let's move now to the trading terminal, which is MT4, and we'll go through a few things. We'll start with commodities, then we'll go to indices, then we'll go to Forex, and we'll finish with individual stocks. There are a few things that I would like to share with you on stocks, and that's pretty much it. So let's start with commodities. We had some, of course, it's a lot of it's war related. We had a nice rebound on crude oil, and we spoke about it. The crude oil came to 94 again, which is a repetition of the previous support from which we bounced, and it played very nicely. We had few tails that took the stops out, and these are the levels around 94. And we had the 3 days in a row bounce, and now we're facing a resistance from the previous level from which we fell. It was around 107. So we'll be watching what oils could do next. Of course, it depends on a lot of things. As far as supply, the shortage of supply, and that's the main reason why the price are high. It comes because of the war, because Russia is one of the major suppliers of oil. There's a lot of issues, a lot of controversial things. Should the Europe stop using it or not? I'm not going to go into this politics, but that's on the supply. Now on the demand, since the Chinese start having a lot of issues with COVID and shut down, these are, besides being kind of a profit taking, it's also being affected on the demand side. And then that's, I guess, one of the reasons why we came down to the previous support that we tried before. So this is the crude oil. Now, natural gas, if you remember, if you were with us in the previous weeks, I spoke about it. The natural gas was very tricky here. There was a lot of accumulation happening. And I said a few things. One of them was that if you zoom out and look at the monthly chart, there was a possibility that we break through this double or even almost triple top here, and that's exactly what happened last week. And I feel sorry for people that short it because there's always a possibility when things are going. And I know some people did short, but you can predict it. You know that this is the market. But if you take a look, that's why is it important to see the big picture? Because there's always a possibility of a breakout. And in this case, it was a very strong breakout. If you take a look, we've been going up for 3-4 weeks, and then we closed about 6 the week before, and the week that ended had a super crazy move, more than $1 move to the upside, and it all happened this week as we broke out. You see, that's important to have levels around 618, 620, from which we moved lower. We had a lot of actions here, a lot of up and downs, and then finally we came back to this level. We tested it with a pin. We came right back, and then we broke through it, and we continued, and we closed almost at the highs. So natural gas, super, super high. Now, what's upcoming week brings, we don't really know. Will the buyers continue here? Will the sellers trying to come in? It's a very, very tricky zone here. As far as the levels, the moment we broke through here, we can continue higher. That's also a possibility. At the same time, we can actually try to pull in and confirm. It's usually not usually. It's not the right thing to say, but sometimes when the breakout happens and it's a very strong one, the real buyers might bring it back to the previous level to confirm its support as it was a resistance. So there's always a chance that it will be rechecked as it was a resistance. They might bring it back to see if it really holds the support before taking it higher. If so, we'll be watching that very strong move in natural gas. Let's take a look at palladium. If you're already here, palladium, it's really not doing much here. A lot of moves here, but this big move ended with a sell-off, then retracement, a lower low, and we're still making kind of a we didn't get out of the previous high over here, so it's tricky here. I'm not sure what's the next move over here. So that's palladium. I just wanted to bring it up because that was a kind of a on the highlights everywhere else at the beginning of the war. As we know, Russia is the major supplier of this metal. Now let's take a look at gold. Gold had a nice week pretty much. If you look at the weekly chart, it's a second week up, and it looks like we're trying to go high over here. And what we need to do, we need to see a strong confirmation of these levels and take a look at the daily chart. It looks like we are confirming. See over here? That's where we hit the resistance, came back to support, closed above, 2 bars above. It could be that it's an opening for continuation to the upside, but it depends on a lot of aspects. And one of them is actually the war, of course. What's next on the war? And we are getting closer to the second announcement or second increase in the interest rate. And also, since the last inflation numbers hit 8.5%, there's a lot of talking that we might even see not half percentage increase, but even 0.75, and that's something that's on the radar now. So gold as an anti-inflationary instrument is working here, and we'll take a look at the dollar in a moment. So this is gold, potential to continuation to the upside, or another retest of around 1960 area. Let's finish commodities with corn and wheat. Corn, a lot of accumulation happening here. If you remember, I mentioned that as wheat was very dynamic, moving a lot up and down. It's this crazy move up. As you can remember, that's it was a kind of a limit trade that you couldn't do it when it opened at the exchanges. You couldn't even trade because it opened higher than the daily limit, and it was just the price just got stuck till the next day. Then we had the sell-off. Then we came back, but again on the wheat, it's a little tricky here. In order to go higher, we need to break this around this area on which we tried, we couldn't. So in a way, we're trading now in this range between 1979 and 1156, 1160. But corn had a very nice play. As you could see, there was a lot of consolidation here. You can call it accumulation at this point, and then we broke out. So over here, there's a chance of continuation because it never really, it had a nice move higher, but not the same way as wheat. So let's just zoom out for a second and take a look what's possible over here. Also, there's a chance that he already made a move as we really getting closer to the all-time highs. So we'll be watching soft commodities. Again, it could go higher, but if it comes right back below this 782, start showing us some price action below, that means it's gonna most likely or possibly move lower to retest the lows. Okay, we're finished with commodities. Let's move now to indices. And we'll start with China. China is having a hard time breaking out of here. And of course, the situation with COVID, their lockdowns and everything else is not really helping. So it could be that, again, we have globally, the indices are getting really weak here. So we'll probably see the GDP numbers, other data from China, which might show the weakness. So we could sell off here because a lot of expectation that really failed. So the buyers, whoever was buying here with all these tails to the upside, they might give up and turn into sellers. So we might see a sell-off to the downside. To the upside, we don't really see any ideas here, as in a while we couldn't really close higher than this 13.9 or whatever, 13.983, 14,000 roughly. So that's China. Nikkei, Japanese index, was really selling. This is Wednesday. We moved a little bit higher, and then Thursday we had a failed attempt to go higher. We closed below the opening, so the downturn. Now Nifty 50, after this crazy move higher, we're really selling now. We're approaching all the moving averages here, so we're sitting on the 100. We might pull in if all the indices come in. So now the main thing, the US indices, out of 3 indices, the Dow Jones is the strongest. So let's start with it. It's really holding up. If you could take a look, this support is really holding here. And it's here, a lot of actions here, a lot of support here, and it's still holding. So roughly, let's say we are holding 34,200 pretty much, right? With all the excitement and everything else. So out of 3, he's the strongest, or it's the strongest. And let's take a look at others. So again, if we pull in the upcoming week, some earnings came in not so great. We have, I'll share with you a few more companies that are coming out this week, this upcoming week. And we might see that it will break and follow the other indices. And I'll show you now what I mean. Let's take a look. You see S&P, it is selling. It's below all the moving averages, 200, 100, and they actually closed below the 50. It's weak. And similar idea, we might continue lower and really go retest the previous lows over here. So it's a lot of down pressure. Besides all the fundamentals and all the things that I share with you, analysts and some CEOs talking about, technically it also looks weak over here. Now, NASDAQ is the weakest. It is trading below the previous kind of a support over here, and it's been trading below the averages already in the previous few days. So we are looking down, and if we look at the weekly chart, there is a strong possibility that we'll come and revisit these levels here around 13,000. We bounced from here, we kept going higher, we made a higher or a lower high here. We confirmed the resistance around 15,000, 15,200. And this is the second week we're selling off. We're below the 50-week moving average. I think the next test is 100, and as far as the levels, like I said, 13,000 is the next level to be tested on Nasdaq. French index, I couldn't break above 50. It looks down as well. FTSE, after confirming the high over here, take a look, a nice confirmation. It still remains a resistance. The last 2 days we actually had an up day. Let's see how the week started. As I said, Monday the market will close. Europeans, UK are closed. US is open, I believe. So we'll see how the week really plays out. DAX didn't have any strength. It was really choppy here. It's trading above 14,000 plus minus. It's holding this level, but not really a lot of excitement to the upside, below all the moving averages. So also potentially looking down. Okay, that's it. That's it. You know what? Let's move. Let's move to. If we're already at equity markets, let's move to stocks, and then we'll go to forex. I was going to do it the other way, but I think it makes more sense. So, a few things I want to share with you. The upcoming week, we have 3 stocks reporting, and definitely more stocks. But I'm just going to bring these 3. Johnson & Johnson's reporting on the 19th. The stock is very strong. It's been strong, and it is holding this previous resistance that turned to support in this area. So of course the earnings will show what's happening here, but based on this price action, we, after breaking through the previous resistance, we had an attempt to go higher, which was pretty much erased in 1 day with a very, very strong to the downside candle. And then we're trading at the bottom, at the base of this candle. So if we see a closure below it, and of course, if the report is not that great, we might see a downside pressure on Johnson & Johnson, something to watch. Netflix reporting also on the 19th. The stock's been beaten up. Just to remind you, we came from 500 something to 400 something, now at 300 something, and it's really having a hard time moving any higher, as it's really reporting lower customer base increase and so on, a lot of fundamental issues. But as of now, at least we see what's clear resistance is around 390, 400 area, and the previous support from which we bounced, it was right here. The low was 329.29. So we're about $11 from this low, from which we really couldn't make the higher high. So pretty much this is the next support. And if you take a look at the weekly chart, it looks really weak. A huge sell-off from the all-time highs. And we are sitting around 320, 329, 330 level. So if we are breaking here, we might see continuation. Let's see on the monthly chart. Doesn't look that great, but on we take 1 day at a time. If we are closing below, we might continue. If we're holding this level, it might actually build a little bit of support here. And if the market is not totally dying, which everything's possible, we could see either bounce if it's holding this level, or if it breaks lower and start showing us some daily closings below, we might continue to the downside. And finally, we have Tesla. Tesla's reporting next day on the 20th, and the stock has been very, very strong, and then it moved lower over here. A lot of it to do with China, as I mentioned before. The plant in China is closed due to the lockdown, and it's a lot of market there that's really not functioning now. And I'm very curious to see the numbers that are coming out. Just to remind you, last time they reported the number of cars that they met the predictions. Now we'll see all the financial statements for the first quarter, and that's on the 20th of April. And of course, the big story of Elon Musk trying to really buy. First, he bought, I think, 9%. I think we mentioned last time, of Twitter, and now he really wants to buy the whole company for 43 billion or something like that. And take a look. Initially, Twitter really jumped up, and I think it's about $54, $55 per share. That's what he's offering. So the stock was trading about the same price, and now then it came right back. So it's not a closed deal. I don't know how it's going to work out. Some say it's a hostile takeover. I really don't know, but the bottom line, he wants to really take the company and turn it into a free speech or whatever his idea, revolutionary idea is. It's really amazing. So, but the stock is really a little bit iffy here. We had a nice gap up, and now we're kind of back. We give back about 50% from this recent increase. Okay, so that's Twitter and Tesla. Now, bank stocks had some actions. Goldman Sachs gapped up. They all reported, and then it closed lower. Citigroup pretty much did the same, and JP Morgan really reported not so great. They had some lower results than expectations, so the stock is really low. So the banks down, and let's see what's next for the banks. And another thing I wanted to bring as far as the stocks, it's AT&T. You know, AT&T, it's about a 150-year company. It's really company with a lot of history. So now finally they just spin off everything else, and that was the whole idea of this gap, the spin off all other types of businesses, though they're going to be purely telecom company, and investors are actually happy about it because it's easier. I don't want to judge. I'm not a big specialist in that, but they're really good with telecom. They really are working together with Verizon, I think, on 5G, and it's going to be focused on telecom only. And investors have really good expectations from it. So from now on, it's going to be pure telecom. Again, I've been repeating it for 4 times, and some are saying that it's a good investment potentially. So that's AT&T, and you can read more about the takeover. It's a lot to do with Warner Brothers and Discovery and other things. Don't want to go into all the financial details. A lot of details there if you're curious, but this is the AT&T. Let's go to Forex, and we'll start with dollar index as usual. And this is dollar index, and we speak about every week that gradually the bar was raised. First we had the 96 resistance, then 98 resistance, 99 resistance, and we spoke about that the next stop is 100, and we are succeeding actually with the 100. This was the level here which we closed. The high was 100.31, the close was 100.3, and since then we didn't really close higher. We had a few tails higher, but we couldn't. So the close on the 14th was 128. Okay, so now again 100 is the level there. If we're holding it higher, we might, and most likely we will continue. Take a look. It took a lot of time to get here on the weekly chart. The last time we were at these levels, it was 2020, May 17th, the week of May 17th, and with all the up and downs here, it was not a straight sell-off with a lot of bounces. Right, a double bottom here. We came with high highs, high lows, and we reached this level. Now, the big question is, what's next? Based on what's happening fundamentally in the upcoming interest rate increases, we might see continuation, and there would be actually potentially retesting would be a triple top. We had a double top here. First one was back in 2017, January. Second one, 2020, March. And we could be heading there now with all the increases in interest rate and inflation and everything else. So very interesting level here, 100. We'll be following that. Okay, and let's take a look at some majors, see what they did. Euro dollar had some weakness. Let me bring it up. Euro dollar with the tail, it made kind of a a lower low from this one, but we didn't close below it. So we still closed around 108, but on the 14th we were as low as 107.57. So the big question here is this level holding, and of course we'll know in the upcoming weeks. So we're not gonna guess, but as of now it is holding. So the low here 108, it's still holding. And let's see if we bounce from here. Pound had some strength actually. Again, after confirming the support around this 130 level, it's a key level. They're really trying to retest it again and again. So we did here kind of a double, two days in a row, double bottom here. Then we made a higher high from the previous one. So give a lot of hope, or in this case, fake hopes to investors and traders, and we came right back. Then we had a nice move higher. We're trading in the middle of this. So it's very simple. A few things can happen. We can come straight to retest this 130 level, or if we're moving higher here, that we will need to show some closing action above this initial move higher about 131.22. And if that happens, we might be on the way gradually to retest the moving average. So the first one is the 50 moving average and so on. And if that happens, if we're moving higher, then as far as the level goes, this level over here, 132.70, 133 could be potentially the next. But now we're really close to the support, so there's a chance that we come to retest the support again. And again, if we break through it to the downside, let's take a look at the weekly chart. Also a possibility, as we had a lot of pressure to the downside on the pound, and if we start closing below this 130 significant level, we might see continuation to the downside. Okay, that's the pound. Australian dollar, 3 weeks down since we broke through the previous highs here. We had a nice breakout, which didn't work out. The next day, we really sell off and we continue. So we might find a little bit of support at the first moving average here, the 50 moving average, also a possibility. Let's see what's next. New Zealand dollar, it's been weaker than Australian. It's been moving lower over here. And again, just to remind everyone, the Australian dollar is very strong and start getting strong with the war and everything else, as a lot of commodities being bought out of Australia. Just to remind those of you who are not familiar, Australian and New Zealand dollar, they call commodity currencies because they have a lot of goods that they sell outside of the country. Okay, and the last one we'll be taking a look at is Japanese yen. It's been super weak. We spoke about it, some intervention happening from Bank of Japan. They bought some bonds and other instruments to keep the yen low because they're pretty much happy at these levels here, even though they pay more to commodities that they purchase, but they like to really maintain this level. So as of now, they're really succeeding, or I don't know if it's them to credit, but I think it's more of a strength of a dollar. And also the 10-year bonds, the yields are going higher, so it has a correlation with dollar and yen as well. So again, not to say a lot, it's been very strong move to the upside. And just for those of you that sometimes says it's too high or it's too low, it's just to prove to you that it's never too high, it's never too low. And it's important to have a plan, and it's important to assess your risk, and that's the thing. All right, so that's the Japanese yen, just showing you that we're going straight. The whole move started from 115 and we're at 126. It's a huge move, and we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks straight up, just to tell you what's possible. So that's Japanese yen. What it's going to do, nobody knows. It's been really holding up strongly. It's about all the leverages. And let's take a look at the monthly chart. It's actually out of the previous high. So it's very interesting. This was the high over here from the sell-off. This was the last high, which was the high. That was in 2015 June. and we just broke this record. We are, I don't know if it's all-time highs. No, it's not all-time highs. We were at 2001 at 135.19. I'm not saying that's the next stop. I really don't know. I don't think anybody does. But what's important is to know this level here, and that's 125.84, 126, let's say. So let's see what happens. If we really confirm this level as a new support as opposed to previous resistances, we have a chance to go higher. If we pulled in again and start really building resistance here, we could be seeing a correction to the downside. Okay, and let's take a look at Bitcoin really quickly. Um, it never did what we said. If it goes closes about 48, it might continue higher. It never did. So the sellers came in. We came to retest 40,000. We were as low as 39,180 here, and the low here was 39,200. So it looks like this support around 39,000 is holding. We're really close to it, and we have a clear range now that we're trading in. It's about 7,000, between 39,000 and 48,000. 39, 48, about 9,000 range. Okay, so we're not going to guess what's happening. It's a highly speculative instrument, very hard to predict, but at least we know a little bit what the support, what the resistance here. Okay, and that's it pretty much. I'm happy that you took your time to be with us, and we'll be back next week. And again, I want to wish everyone a very happy, nice, peaceful, healthy holiday season, whatever holiday you celebrate. And I wish everyone a successful week, and we'll be back in a week. All the best. Take care.